Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to You've Championed Yourself. I'm Chris Ferguson, your host. It's been a dream of mine to showcase people who have taken their dreams and ideas and turned it into their reality. As we reach, as we as individuals reach beyond our personal struggles, our pains, our traumas, so many others give up. They lose hope. There are those few who can walk through their obstacles and their challenges, not knowing where it's going to take them. They trust themselves enough not to give up. They do the follow through in their personal life, their career, and in their relationships. This is what I call a champion in life. Today, I have an amazing individual here. His name is Tony Laprino. He is a coach. He has a lot of interesting things we're going to talk about: health, wellness, all kinds of good stuff. So I'm excited and honored to have him here with me today. Let's welcome Tony.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Oh,
I'm
you're welcome.
excited
You're
to be here.
welcome. Let's. You're in Maine. I'm in Tennessee. What's your backstory?
That's a really great question. And my backstory is, how far do you want to go back?
Well, just go through that moment where the light bulb went on and you said, "This is not me. This is not who I'm going to define myself as," and then go on to what I want to become.
Sure. It was in 2017, and I can picture it. Like I was just there, and it was a Thursday morning, and it was about 6:30 a.m. and I was outside. I live in a small neighborhood in a raised ranch house, and I was sitting on the back of my house, and I was in my work clothes, and I was getting ready for the day. But we had a guy coming to do some work on our house on Friday morning, and it's pretty funny. But he was coming to pump the septic, and I was digging to find the cover, and I couldn't find it. And I was so frustrated. And I remember sitting there on a red cooler, leaned up against the back of my home, and my head was in my hands, and my elbows against. I leaned on my knees, and I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take it anymore. I was so overwhelmed with where my life was. I was running 2 six-figure businesses alone. My relationship with my wife was struggling. My connection with my kids was not there. And I was addicted to drugs and alcohol.
Hmm.
And I realized that day that I was heading down a path that I feared the most. And it was the path that my dad had followed.
Hmm.
The same behaviors, the same everything. And that day I made a decision to break the chain of the sedated man. I didn't want to put my kids, my family through the same pain, the same hurt, the same confusion, the same things that I went through as a kid when my parents split. So it was that day, that Thursday morning in June 2017, is where I made the decision to shift my life and chart a new path.
I love that. I love that. I'm a child of an alcoholic. I get where you're coming from. My father was a miserable alcoholic. He was Native American, and they don't have the enzymes in their DNA to break down alcohol. So that's how they get so addicted to that so fast, faster than most other races on the planet. But I applaud you. I applaud you for recognizing what you were going through. I applaud you for understanding that you were human and you're flawed, and that it was okay to be flawed, but how do I fix it?
Mm. That was the question. Now what?
Mm.
Now what? I had known that even making that decision was a huge decision, and I knew there was something more. There was something more for me, and I just didn't know what it was, and I didn't know how to get it. But it was a decision to just know that, listen, my life isn't working, and this is not what I want, and I know there's more for me. Now it's time to go find it.
So what did you do?
I went searching. I
Oh,
went
good.
searching for answers.
That's a great answer. But what did you find? Where did you find it?
Sure. It was, it actually started just prior to that. It was a couple months before that. A friend of mine gave me this gift in passing, and it was a book called Warrior Book. And I looked it up. I picked it up. I sat down and I started reading it. And as soon as I opened this book and I began reading, my heart instantly sank to the pit of my stomach. This book really opened my eyes to the truth. It opened my eyes to the truth and awakened me to the fact that I was heading down a road that I feared the most. Like I said, the path that my dad had followed, the same behaviors, the same everything. Again, my marriage was on the brink of separation. She hated me at the time. I had no connection with my kids, and there was no way on earth that I was going to put my kids through this. So it was that book. It was that book that said, it's time to wake up. It's time to take a look in the mirror. It's time to face the facts, stop lying and tell the truth that your life is not working. It's not working. So it was a challenge to defy my own reality and to really challenge the reasons why I felt the way that I felt, why I was thinking the way that I was thinking, why I felt so disconnected, so empowered in my marriage and my business.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really that book. It was that moment in that book that I sat down and I read. And that's when I started again. I went on this journey. It was a self-discovery, really. And so I started following this group, started paying attention, and that was one of the defining moments. The second one was something that I fell on, and it relates to this journey of health and wellness. It was around the same time. It came around September 2017. Some friends of mine here locally at a gym, they said to me, they're like, let's do this Ironman triathlon thing. And I was like, what are you talking about? I can't do that. Like, I was a gymmer. I went to the gym a couple days a week, and that was it. Like, I
Just
didn't
to say that you went.
just to say that I went. Honestly, what it was, is I was going through the motions. So on Friday night, I could go out to eat and drink whatever I wanted to. Saturday, I could have takeout. Sunday, I could have football, food, and drink some more beers, and then start again on Monday. So that's really what it was. So this triathlon thing was like ridiculous. Like this half Ironman, if you're not familiar with it, what it is it's a 1.2 mile swim in the ocean. And it was in the ocean for this one. And it was 56 miles on the bike. And then you run a half marathon, 13.1. This was like half an Ironman. So at the point in time when they said, let's do this, something hit me and it said, you know what? Why not? Let's give it a shot and see what happens. I couldn't swim. I didn't know how to swim. Okay. Flopping around in a pool or a lake as a kid doesn't equate to swimming. And then I didn't even own a bike. I hadn't been on a bike since I was 15 years old. And I couldn't run more than 3 miles without feeling like death was coming. So this really was a really smart idea. Okay. So I signed up for it and began training. And along the training, the thing that the biggest problem is my lifestyle didn't change. Like I thought I could just out train a poor diet, an addiction, and then I could continue my life just the way it was and just out train it. It wasn't happening. Like everything was up and down and like it was miserable. So in March, I had come across a post from a woman that I had followed from a radio show, and it was something about upgrade your diet or something like that. So I jumped on an interview with her, and she was telling me about her program, and it was what I needed. It was what I needed, not from a health standpoint, but from a clarity and a cleansing standpoint. Like my body needed to transform. Mm-hmm. So at the time, I jumped in on it. It was like, okay, let's do this, and it was an extreme program. It was a 8-week program where it was eating nothing but raw foods for 12 weeks or 8 weeks. So at the time I was about 175, 180 pounds, and I was still training. And I did this program and I went all in on it. I quit drinking. I quit smoking weed. Stopped eating junk food, and I went raw for about 8 weeks. And I dropped down to 155, 150 pounds in those 8 weeks. And I've never felt so good. I like my whole life changed, and I fell upon it. Like I wasn't searching for that, but that was the catalyst that opened the doors for all the other pillars inside of my life, the spiritual connection,
Mm-hmm.
inside of my fitness, inside of my family, and all these other things that I focus on. So those two big things were the transformation.
I love that. I love that. Being one that I've always been an athlete all my life. As a young kid, I got into swimming because it was a way of getting rid of my anger.
Mm.
And I became a competitive swimmer. And I went to the Junior Olympics in the state of Colorado in 1974.
Wow.
And I took it in my age group, but I was so young. And even though that I took it in my age group, the final event was everybody against everybody, regardless of the age or size or abilities. It was the heat, the last heat. And I came in second, competing against a girl named Sharon Gould. She ended up going to the Olympics. But the caveat here was I was a kid in an orphanage.
Oh, wow.
And so the anger I had was being in the orphanage, living that life and not understanding it. But it was a way that I could take out my anger because I became non-auditorial. I just wouldn't talk. Had nothing to say to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you pissed me off, you had a world of hell to deal with.
It was over.
So I understand it. And as I grew older, I became a weightlifter because I knew I had to get strong.
Mm.
And in my law enforcement career, I was bench pressing 200 pounds at 175 pounds because I was working gangs on the streets.
Yeah.
And you have to break up gang fights with guys that are weighing 250, 300 pounds, but you still have to have everybody's back and be able to stay safe.
Wow.
So I had no neck. I had no ability. No ability, I couldn't reach back. You know how you get
Sure.
you can't reach back and scratch the back of your head. You can't do it. You just can't.
Yeah.
And it's because your muscles are constricted so much so from the weightlifting. And so I told my husband, I said, I can't do this anymore. You know what? I'm going to go into the schools and work in this alternative school. And I was there for 15 years. It was one of the hardest jobs I ever had to do, but it was one of the most rewarding. Because here's a kid from so far behind the tracks, couldn't even find the tracks to get on the tracks to find out how to get past the tracks. And I'm dealing with kids who have no support, no structure, and they're punting in life.
Mm.
And it's right where I needed to be because it helped me find my calling to help and show people. They never knew. None of them ever knew that that's where I came from. But I was that key person in helping them become their best version of themselves and graduate high school.
That's amazing.
So yes. So when you tell your story, I resonate with it because I'm one of 11 children.
Mm.
And it's all about choices.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we have to hit rock bottom and quit accepting our bad behaviors and denying them. And I love that in your story that one, as a male, you admit it, two, that you own it, and three, you got past it.
Yeah, it's
Because those are the hardest steps. And it's not just male, it's female too. But a lot of guys stay in their ego.
There it is.
And that was my next question. How did you get past that point? What was the pushing factor that said, you know what, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be soft. It's okay to be raw and real.
I don't know if it was a particular moment, but I knew that I had to go to that place. I just knew that it wasn't who I was. Like it was more difficult to put on the mask. It was more difficult to pretend that my life was working. It was more difficult to show up every single day and put that barrier up and not let anybody into my world because that wasn't working. Like that wasn't working at all. And as guys, like we're not taught to share your emotions. You're not.
It's a disservice we've done to the men of our world. It is.
Sure, absolutely. And it's not that it's not masculine to do that. You're weak if you do that. You're supposed to just keep your head down, shut your mouth, go out and make as much money as you possibly can, and figure it out.
Mm-hmm. That's not living. That's not even thriving. That's just existing.
It's totally right. Totally right. And it was more of a becoming real and telling the truth to myself. I didn't know the man who was looking back at me in the mirror. It was a lie. Like I was living a complete lie.
Okay.
And I just couldn't deal with it anymore.
Let's change this around 1 second here. I want you to take a deep breath in. I want you to hold it, and I want you to reach into your 5-year-old inner child and listen to what that 5-year-old inner child is telling you today about who you are today.
That 5-year-old child is so relieved that he's back and that he's able to be himself.
And he's proud you didn't give up.
For sure. Absolutely, 100%. Because that 5-year-old child has gone through a lot of pain and a lot of hurt, and right from a very young age. But he wouldn't change it for anything, because he had to go through what he went through in order to be who he is today.
See, I believe that too. Even though I grew up in an orphanage, it was it became my foundation. It became my empowerment. It became how I decided to change my life. And one of the things I did was much like yours. Let's back this up. I had a near-death experience when I was 4. So I had these real imaginary friends. They're called spirits. But when I went out to the orphanage, I had this spirit guide come to me, and all he kept whispering in my ears, this is not your fault. This is not you. This is not who you are. And he has stayed with me in my entire life. His name is Geronimo. He made me bulletproof. He made me that badass. He made me that person, even though I'm a female, that warrior, to be able to stand through all my traumas, my pains, my issues, and to be able to step out. And I love the fact that you found your warrior. So I see, as a tomboy, I was more masculine than I was feminine. I never wore pink. I never wore lace. I never wore ribbons or bows. None of that. And the hardest thing I had to do was become not so independent on myself, because that's who I was as a young child. And to learn to love, truly love. And so I'm really connecting with you, because I was that masculine kid as a tomboy. And so I wasn't emotional. I didn't complain about anything. I sucked it up. I did what I had to do to get beyond it. And this is everything you're talking about.
Yep. I was complete opposite. I'm at my best. There's different situations, but honestly, my true who I am is I'm very much an emotional man. I'm an empath, and I feel a lot of energy, not only from myself but from others. But I operate a lot in the feminine. I'm caring. I'm compassionate. I have a huge heart, and I'll do anything for anybody. But on the flip side is I know that switch. I know the switch is there, and it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much at all to get into that masculine, that fight, that warrior, the outer warrior. My dark warrior is really what I call it, is the dark warrior.
Well, is it truly a dark warrior, or is it now your warrior because you've dealt with the dark?
Sure. I mean, I guess it's more of a phrase than anything. Darkness isn't bad.
It's not bad.
I don't mean it in a bad way.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. It's actually harmonizing your divine feminine and your divine masculine. And that's where the mastery is at. Because we all have masculine and feminine in us, whether you're female or male.
Totally.
And so a lot of people don't understand that. And it's okay to express one or the other. But when you harmonize both, that's when your best you shows up.
For sure. 100%. That's your true authentic self. And that's what the search has been, is to answer the question, who am I and why am I here?
It is. But I want to ask you, I saw that Onset Fitness, and
On
is that
Ascent.
your bit? Yes. Is that your on Ascent?
On Ascent. That
Okay.
is, yep, that is my business. And we focus on 4 main pillars, and that is faith, family, fitness, and finance. People enter into my world through the fitness realm, through the health spectrum. On Ascent is a reminder every single day for me that I'm on this climb, this life journey, and every single day is to take one more step up life's mountain. So that's where it came from. That's the reminder every single day. In people that come in, we have certain jobs to do. We have jobs to do, and we
We
stay
do.
on the ascent.
And what is your vision for your agency to do for people? What's the goal? What's the hope, the dream?
The hope and the dream from just a really big, huge perspective is to have somebody come into my world and to completely transform their health, really to live a disease-free life
Mm-hmm.
where they're not limited. And with that, to also branch those results into their faith, spirituality. It's not whatever it is for them,
Mm-hmm.
into their family, their relationships with others, with their wives, with their husbands, with their kids, and same thing with their finances, with growing their business, because it's all connected. It is
Mm-hmm.
all connected. But if you don't have your health,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
And your mindset, because your mindset is the what controls your ambition to step out and take action.
Sure. It's all, like I said, it's all
Yeah,
connected.
I love that.
So I would honestly, I mean, it's one person at a time
Mm-hmm.
to transform a life, to have them understand and see it for themselves, and take them along this journey with me. It's really the journey to become elite, the
Okay, now that we're
1%.
talking about journeys, talk to me about the achiever's journey.
Cool. Yeah, the achiever's journey is the achiever's journey is something that I came up with because I'm an achiever. I'm a high achiever, right? Grew up an athlete, just like you did. And
Mm.
one of the hardest days of my life is when somebody took the uniform away
Mm.
and there was no more. But that fire still was inside of me, right? That desire to compete.
Mhm.
So the achiever's journey is really about reaching optimal health and fitness
Mm.
and becoming the 1%. So what that really means, what the 1% means in this journey to become elite, is that the statistics out there show that if you had started a nutrition or a fitness program and you experienced a result, you
Mhm.
lost weight, you lost inches, you gained muscle, whatever the result was, less than 1% of people can maintain that result for 5 years or more. So all I'm sharing is my own journey. This,
Mhm.
this is what I have figured out. The code that I have cracked is how to become the 1%, because I have not gone back to my old ways. I have not, none of it. It continues to get better. I continue to get stronger. I'm in the best shape of my life. I turn 41 next week. It's crazy. It's absolutely
Ah,
crazy.
happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I have to tell you, I'm in my 7th year of maintaining my weight.
There you go. You're in the 1%.
So, and it's been a struggle. I
Mhm.
mean, I had cancer when I was 22.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, and then a full hysterectomy in my 40s. And so it was like, I had no hormones,
Oh,
absolutely no hormones, flatlined everything and anything. And so it was like I said to my doctor, I said, listen, I'm not sure this is what I'm supposed to, how I'm supposed to be living and how I'm supposed to be doing. And I got up to 242 pounds.
oh,
And it
wow.
was all insulin resistance and
Mhm.
hormonal.
Sure.
And most women don't understand that this is what happens with women as they get older. And so I said, I need help. And they pointed me in the right direction. And since 2016, I have been at my optimal weight and health. And when I moved to Tennessee, I took a position at a jail, and I was working there as a quality assurance manager. And I worked there 6 years, and it was an hour's drive, but a time change. Plus going up over some big mountains that where they dumped all the snow all the time between us.
Yeah.
And we were talking like you could get a foot of snow, and the ice was the worst part about it.
Right.
So finally I just said, I got to quit that. So I need a job where I'm not getting up at 3:00 in the morning to be there by, 7:30 in the morning and doing 16, 18 hours because of my position.
Right.
And so I just said, enough's enough. And I thought I was having a heart attack, and I ended up with 2 pulmonary embolisms, one in each lung. And most people don't survive one, and here I'm surviving 2.
Wow.
So you keep saying to yourself, so this was like near-death experience 3 for me in my life. So I'm like, okay, so come on, creator, I don't have 9 lives. Let's talk about this. Let's get personal. Let's get real with this. It's my motto is real, raw, and rare. Let's just pull back the Band-Aid. Let's just
sure thing.
Put it out there. Let's just talk about this. And he keeps telling me, I'm not done with you yet. So 5 years ago, I started my spiritual practice publicly with start memberships, healings, energy work.
Love it.
But I would be sitting here, and from the waist down, I'd be in my uniform, pants, boots, the whole 9 yards. From the shirt up, I'd have a T-shirt under my shirt. The minute the camera went off, I'm pulling off my shirt, putting on my bulletproof vest, putting on my uniform top, putting on my belt, gun and everything, and running out the door to do my thing.
Wow.
So I was just like this duality. And I could see where in your life you had a duality.
For sure.
And so how did you go from your duality to harmonizing yourself?
I took responsibility.
I love that answer. It is about accountability, self-accountability. Yeah. I love that answer. Too many people don't do that. They want to point the fingers. They want to blame others. They want to make it all about everybody else. And it's not. And I'm honored that you said that. How do you help people with negative behaviors and to help them change them?
Sure. I don't look at them as a negative. I look at them as feedback. So the question really comes to, is it working? What I practice and what my people and clients experience with me is we focus on what's working, what's good. There's always something good that can come out of whatever the negative is from what they're telling themselves. So it's really a defying the story and challenging the story that they're telling themselves. You're telling yourself that this isn't working, that you can't do X, Y, and Z, that all these things are so bad in your life. Well, let's take a different look at it. Let's take a little different perspective. You're here for a reason. You're here in this particular time, at this particular moment, for a very specific reason. You had to go through all this. You had to experience all of it. So overcoming negative is really flipping it and flipping the switch to, let's see what we can pull out of there positive. What's the experience that you had? What's the outcome that you had with it? And is it working? If the answer is no, okay, what do you want? If you want something different, then we start to look at other ways and other alternatives to say, okay, how do we make this shift? So that's really how I approach negative behavior and negative mindset around challenges, is to really just hit them head on, hit them absolutely head on.
And I agree with that philosophy, because I'm the same way. It's why deny it, or why try to say, okay, I don't see you right there, obstacle. I'm going to walk away, right? Walk over here and walk away. So I agree with that. But as far as you said that you were very empathic. I'm a walking lie detector. And it's
your discernment. I like the same with me. It's like, that's one thing that is very strong, is I can tell bullshit real quick.
And that's been my life. since I was 8. I can see it coming. I can smell it a mile away.
Yeah.
And so the fact is as an empath, how do you, okay, I know how I do it, but I'm curious, how do you distance yourself from all of everybody else's emotions and stay in the present? Because that's a big challenge for an empath.
It is very difficult. It is very difficult. And it really comes to awareness. It comes to awareness for myself. It's like, I can feel it coming on. I can feel it happening. Like I start to get this physical feeling. I start to perspire. I start to sweat. I start to get clammy and start to notice these things like, why am I feeling this way? And I just question it. It's like, am I feeling their energy? Am I feeling their pain? And if so, why? And is it true? And if it's not true, then I just dismiss it and say, let it flow right through me. And just this isn't me. This isn't my pain. This is something that I can step away from and step out of the situation. And really it's almost feels like an out of body experience where I step back and I'm just observing. I'm just observing myself, and I'm observing the energy that's coming from the other person. And, so that's one way. And other ways is, I have my own practices. I meditate a lot, ask a lot of questions of myself. Exercise is a big thing for me. It's one of those ways where I can really I can reset myself. So those are a couple action items that I do anyway, to try not to take on so much, because you're right, it becomes heavy. I journal a lot. I've got mentors that I talk to. I run a podcast, so sometimes I just turn the microphone on and I just let it fly.
That's kind of cool. I've done some teaching. I do what they call soul awareness. And I just pick a topic of soul awareness and let's discuss it. And then what actions can we take to accomplish this? And then I post those videos. But I love the fact that when you're in health and wellness, but you're driven energetically and powerful to help people get back to their best selves. And I love that you're of service.
100%. 100. I'm all about it. Like, it's all about a result for somebody. Like, they come to me because they're telling me that they want to have more energy or lose weight, but that's not the problem. It's not the problem.
It's not. It could be part of it.
It's totally part of it.
But a lot of it's the elbow.
It's totally part of it. It's totally part of it. And when they enter and they're like, wait a second, this is a little bit different than anything that I've really experienced, because the first topic that we talk about is mindset and belief. The first thing we talk about is commitment, mastering your mind, mastering those types of things, mastering your actions, taking a look at all the stuff. We don't even talk about food for weeks, because it's not about the food.
It's not.
It's not at all.
I have to tell you, it's interesting, because when I gave up, COVID has different effects on different people. And for me, it made me diabetic. And I had to give up pastas, potatoes, rice, fruits, because of all the natural sugar. I have to be very cautious with what fruits I eat and how much I eat and how often I eat.
Sure.
And when I went to the doctor's office, my blood level was 341. And you, as a health professional, as far as in wellness, that's extremely high. My doctor says that's stroke stuff, Chris.
I was going to say, that's lifeline number 5.
So that's stroke stuff. And I said, I don't feel it. So my A1C was 13.9. And I told her, I said, I eat a healthy diet. I eat healthy food. I mean, I'm eating brown rice, but brown rice is bad for you because it kicks up all the carbs. So she says, we got to do something. So in August 24th to December 5th, I went from 13.9 to 7.1.
Oh, how'd you do it?
I cut out all the carbs. I watch my carbs and I watch my sugars.
Okay.
And so if I'm that nutritional person in the store looking at the can, reading the contents of how many carbs and how many sugars on it. Tomato soup. I love tomato soup.
Mm-hmm.
It has 47 carbs.
Mm-hmm.
It has
Sugar.
37 sugars. I had to give up my favorite soup. My favorite meal is tomato soup and a grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
It's gone. It's gone. So
Okay.
the fact is when you're prepared and you're ready, when your life comes up and you take the action, you accomplish your goals.
So here's something that I hear you saying is that, yeah, you were faced with this decision, but you wanted it bad enough.
I did. I want to be healthy. If I'm not here for me, if I'm not all in for me, in my life, in my practice, it's all about the relationship I have with me first.
Mm-hmm.
Because that relationship with me first is how I treat other people, teach other people how to treat me and show them how I'm going to treat them.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I don't take care of me, am I being real, raw, and rare? Or am I just, doing the mouth bit? Am I just, telling you what you want to hear and telling you what you think is the right thing? Or am I putting in practice in my life what I recommend you put in practice in your life?
Mm-hmm. And that's a huge thing. That's a really big thing. And that's not what you find with most people.
It's not. In fact, when I came up to Tennessee, I decided to get back into law enforcement, and I had to go through the police academy. I was 60 years old at the time. And it was 12 weeks. It was grueling. I was the oldest person there,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't at the back of the pack. I was out running 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds. We had some amazing individuals there that were just like superstar athletes, and marathon runners, and they were amazing. But my whole point was not to be at the back of the pack.
There you go.
I was like 5 people ahead of all of them. I was happy with my accomplishments. And my instructor said, you know what? You never gave up on me. And I said, why? That would mean I'd have to give up on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where those core values come from. So when you were coming on, I was like, he has no idea who I am and what I've done. And it is all about fitness. It is all about health. It is all about your wellness, body, mind, and soul.
Totally. 100%. How do you maximize it? That's the ticket. That's what we teach, is how do we maximize and take advantage of it every single day? Because the reality is that we have a very short amount of time here on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
You never know when your time in the door is going to, is.
Or you keep getting pumped back here.
Sure, absolutely. you just don't know. And we're in this world where it's almost looked at as selfish when you take care of yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just mind-boggling to me as why is it like that? Because at the end of the day, is that if you don't take care of yourself first, if you don't love yourself first, how do you expect to be able to love anybody else? How do you expect to be able to receive it? How do you expect to bring your best every single day to the people that you love the most and the people that you interact with? And it starts with your body. It starts with your health. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest things that happened to me is, as I was going through this whole transformation, is like I've never felt this way before. I've never felt this great, this clear, like this, like on fire. I mean, there was times where I'm just sitting there in my car and I'm like bouncing off the walls. I'm like, am I supposed to feel this way? Is this really true? Is this really true? I was the guy who was like, I used to make fun of people who didn't drink because I would be like, well, this is the best you're ever going to feel your entire life. And I felt
how high you are.
Exactly. So I would equate good feeling to being sedated until I experience what good really feels like. So it's a big shift to chasing a feeling more than anything now.
So when you, as you're going through all of this change and all of this stuff, have you repaired all the relationships in your life? Or is that still a work in process?
I would say it's a work in progress. I've made peace with my past.
Good. I like that. I like that a lot.
Very much so. Very much so. I don't blame anybody. I don't blame my parents. I don't blame anybody who has quote unquote done me wrong, because they haven't. They've given me a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't go through and experience what I experienced, I wouldn't be who I was today. And, so the relationships, even with my own family, it's a work in progress. It's a big challenge, because sometimes, I mean, even today, I mean, it's my wife and I are faced at this point in time where the gap has continued to widen because I continue on a path, she continues on her path, and it's not the same. And sometimes our values and our beliefs are different. And that's just the way life is sometimes. It's okay. It's not like I don't love her any differently, but it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge. So yes and no.
That's an amazing answer. That is absolutely so authentic. I love it. If someone wanted to get a hold of you, do you do this virtually at all?
I do. It's all virtual.
Okay.
It's all
So
virtual.
if somebody wanted to get a hold of you to get into this awareness, whether you're male or female, how would they get a hold of you?
Sure. I mean, email is the best. Info @onascent.com. You can just email me, or you can find me on Facebook. It's just my name, @Tony Laprino. You can shoot me a message. I have particular programs specific for men and specific for women. So it's an open door, and I don't let everybody in. I don't let everybody in at all.
Right.
So it's a very particular person that I'm looking for. It's really somebody who refuses, at the point in time, they absolutely refuse to compromise with the circumstances that they're in right now.
Yes, I like that. I like that, because I do that every day.
Mm-hmm.
When you know that your time is short, and you know that there's somebody up there on a light switch and says, okay, it's now, and you've met them and they keep saying, I'm not done with you yet. It's like, okay, just let me know when you're ready. Okay. Because I'm willing to go, because it's so much more peaceful over there.
Sure.
No chaos, no drama, no nothing. So just let me know. I'll be happy. You're right there.
Sure. Absolutely. And what I teach is not what is on the mainstream. What's on the mainstream is, if you're a fad diet looking for a quick fix, you're looking for a magic pill, go find it somewhere else. That's not me. I create real sustainable change for life. This is a life-changing experience. There is no doubt about it. I guarantee it. If you are willing, able, and committed, your life will never be the same.
I love that, Tony. I love that. Absolutely. I thank you and honor you for being here today. Hold on just a second, okay?
Sure.
That's not what I wanted to do. Hang on. I'm going to take you out for 1 second. It takes a special kind of individual to dream their thoughts and ideas and turn it into their reality. Tony has done just that. He stepped past his fears, he stayed the course, and he had the courage to do the follow through to the end. Tony Laprino, you've championed yourself. Now we know who you've become. Thank you for sharing your life, your ideas, your thoughts, and your dreams with us today.